Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it's a great pleasure and honor for me to stand here today in the Shanghai Culture Squares Theater, where stories come to life at an event that more than lives up to its name, Connect. Connections are not given in a world that seems increasingly fragmented, politically, technologically, and sometimes even culturally. They are a statement of openness and of courage. I would like to sincerely thank Richard Fay for giving me the opportunity to speak about a topic that is very close to my heart. The theme Connect resonates deeply with me, as it reflects both my professional philosophy and the very reason I became active in the Chinese market. That's why speaking for this topic feels natural to me. And I also thank Richard for implementing his vision of rooting the musical theater genre in the Chinese market in such a successful way, and for connecting us through it. What Richard and his team has built here is more than just a forum, it's a space where people come together, where connections spark for creative energy, and for stories that reach audiences at their core, no matter where they come from. At its heart, that's what it is all about, connecting people, ideas, visions, and cultures. Now is the time to not only describe the cultural bridges between Europe and China in the field of musical theater, but to cross them together. European audiences are driven by curiosity about fresh narratives, unlocking new potential for the creation of future musicals. Connect also means not just observing current trends and movements in the international musical theater market, but actively shaping them. It's about how we must respond artistically and technically to change, with openness, with innovation, with a clear sense of what is demand today, but even more so tomorrow. While the repeated circulation of the same successful commercial musicals has sustained the German musical market for decades, the time has come, now more than ever, for fresh, original ideas to emerge from within the industry itself. Connect also means understanding the various players in our industry, from nurturing young talent and artistic development to managing productions, operations, and marketing, not as separate spheres, but as a part of a living, interconnected network. Only through united thought and action, guided by the innovations we hold in our hands, can we awaken the creative spirit that gives rise to enduring, sustainable creations. And finally, connect means building a lasting relationship with our audience, one that isn't just based on the moment of applause, but on recognizability, relevance, and emotional connection. Because tomorrow's audience is looking for more than just entertainment. They seek meaning, identity, and participation. Sometimes all it takes is a story that builds that bridge. And sometimes it takes an airship. So I'm delighted to introduce the musical Zeppelin by Ralph Siegel, a true icon of European music history. This show fits seamlessly into the spirit of this forum and has been captivating audiences at the Festspielhaus Neuschwanstein in Germany since 2021. The story of Ferdinand von Zeppelin is a story of persistence, of vision, and yes, of catastrophe. It doesn't begin with triumph, but with conviction, with the unshakable idea of a man who didn't see the sky as a limit, but as a promise. Zeppelin was an engineer, an idealist, a man to risk everything, not for fame, not for power, but for a goal larger than himself, to connect people through the sky, Just as the development of the airship connected people in Germany, and just as the crash of his first airship over Lake Constance during the test flight became a national catastrophe, prompting donations from ordinary citizens up to the Kaiser himself, so too did the Zeppelin later go on to connect continents by air and people through their journeys. It was a collective belief that saw no failure in the wreckage, but a beginning. Zeppelin is not just a show about an airship. It is a show about believing in the seeming impossible and what happens when the belief collides with reality. Great visions require great sacrifice. Maybe that's the real measure of greatness. Not how much something costs, but how many are willing to carry the vision forward. Ralph Siegel's musical reminds us of something we urgently need today, the power of vision. I now invite you to catch a glimpse of Zeppelin, a musical woven from visions, dreams, and the shadows of tragedy.
Hello everybody, out there, wherever you are. I'm Ralph Siegel, the composer, lyricist, and producer and songwriter of a new play called Zeppelin.
Ich wollte ein Fahrzeug erschaffen, das sich durch die Lüfte bewegt, wie ein Schiff durch das Wasser.
Amerika, wir kommen! Der Zeppelin-Hilfsboot ist da. Die Haltemannschaft beginnt mit ihrer Arbeit. Routiniert packen die Männer die Halteseile, die vom Luftschiff herabgelassen werden, und machen sie fest.
Und wenn der letzte Vorhang fällt, der Tod sich vor das Leben stellt, dann geh ich aus dieser Welt, doch ich hab gelebt, geliebt, gelebt, geliebt, gelebt.
Ferdinand von Zeppelin had the airship at his vision. My vision is a musical theater as a transcultural art form, carried by a shared artistic language, one that closely examines contemporary and future-forward trends and touches the hearts of the audiences. Musical is not just a genre, it's an expression of emotion, an architectural blueprint for great feelings. What if that blueprint were drawn by not one, but by two cultures? I see Connect as a call to us, the creatives and decision makers of the musical theater world, a call to become a creative hub for collaborative works between China and Europe, between stage and audience, and between music and human experience. Because what is music if not a language that doesn't need to be learned because it already lives within us? Chinese audiences are captivated by the vitality of European history, while European audiences are spellbound by the depth and richness of Chinese culture, even they are familiar with only a few of its ancient legends. It's time that changed. This mutual fascination is like an open window. It lets the light pour in, but there is not yet a doorway. The light may guide us, but the path we must walk ourselves. Now is the time to share stories born from true co-productions between Chinese and European artists, not through adaptation, but through joint creation. Not as a cultural import or export, but as an act of mutual authorship, rooted in emotional truth. To tell a story together means to feel together, to risk together, and to create together. It means finding a story that no one could tell alone because it's born in the middle. And that's exactly where we begin, where there is no longer an I against a you, both transforms into a we, not because they become the same, but because they enable each other, because they tell something that only becomes visible when two perspectives cross, intertwine, and reflect each other. Inspired by this vision, Zibingu has begun shaping its first collaborative project, built from the ground up together. The collaborative development of a new musical with creatives from the city of Biancheng, the Dragon's Eye, the story of Shandong. Imbued with the distinctive sounds of Chinese music and the life philosophies, yet anchored in dramaturgical traditions familiar to European audiences, the musical draws its strength from the audience's curiosity, a desire to explore the unfamiliar that serves as a catalyst for a new artistic path. It tells the fate of young Wenlong, woven into the spiritual symbolism of the dragon and serpent, a fairy tale of dreams that shatter and wisdom that endures, a story like a quiet mirror reflecting the hearts of all who have ever wondered if a broken dream can still hold meaning, if an ending might be a beginning spoken in a language we have yet to learn, and if failure might be the threshold to something profound. Biancheng, once called Shandong, is a special place. It has become a symbol of a lost poetic Chinese world, much like Arcadia in European literature. And is famous in China for the novella Border Town by one of its most significant writers, Sheng Chengwen. Border Town, the name itself holds a promise that where borders exist, connections and transitions can arise. The stage becomes a border town itself, a place where sounds and cultures meet, not to dominate one another, but to connect and coexist in balance. It invites the audience to mutual discovery, not as a stage of domination, but a space of resonance, where the foreign doesn't stay foreign and the familiar isn't sealed off. Our challenge and our opportunity lies in bringing musical storytelling forms of both cultures into resonance, not to fuse, but to respond, to give each other space. We don't want a blend, we want a dialogue. A musical conversation where each other listens to the other, where each note listens to the other. Because it's not about reducing two cultures to a common denominator, quite the opposite. It's about letting the distinctive qualities, the tone colors, the inner rhythms of both traditions coexist, like two voices in a canon, complementing each other without overshadowing. The Chinese musical tradition, with its pentatonic structure, the floating sound of the guzheng, the elegant clarity of the erhu, or the archaic pulse of the pipa, brings a depth that is not to be explained, but felt. It doesn't speak in chords, but in gestures, in lines, in breathing curves. The European musical tradition, on the other hand, with its harmony theory, polyphonic complexity, its dynamic force, the dramatic tension of modulation is like an architectural language. It builds emotional spaces, guides through climaxes, creates and resolves conflict, often grandly, sometimes theatrically. What if both listened to each other? If an European orchestra didn't try to sound Chinese, but lifted its voice and the Chinese instruments responded, not imitated, but authentic from within themselves, then resonance emerges, not as an echo, but as a co-vibration. We don't just hear a song, we feel a space between the notes. Imagine an European musical in that soundscape. And perhaps this is exactly the musical future we need, one in which difference doesn't mean division, but invitation, in which sound no longer signals origin, but enables interaction, in which music doesn't draw borders, but builds bridges. Bridges that let us not only see, but truly connect and hear each other. A stage not as a place of assertion, but as a space of connection. Two hearts beating differently, but seeking the same rhythm. Many mirrors in which our hopes, doubts, fears, and dreams reflect, transform, and reveal themselves. When we tell stories, we always tell something about ourselves. When we tell them together, we suddenly realize my pain carries your sound and your hope carries my name. And then a musical is not longer just entertainment, but a reminder of something we had almost forgotten, that beneath all our differences, there is always something shared if we are willing to listen. That is the path, in my understanding, toward a long-term relationship with our audience. One not based only on the moment, but on trust, familiarity, and relevance. Today's audience seeks more than entertainment. They seek meaning, identity, participation, and often unknowingly new sounds. So let us not tell one truth, but offer a mirror that doesn't divide, but asks, what do you see in me? And what do I see in you? And if at the end of the evening, People return home a little changed, more thoughtful, more touched. Then we have achieved exactly what Connect promises, a connection that lasts. Ladies and gentlemen, let us see this forum as a beginning, a sign that it is possible to form a shared language from two perspectives, not through unification, but through mutual trust. If we succeed in allowing our cultural signatures not only to meet, but to compose together, then more than a musical emerges, then a new global storytelling form is born. Because it's not written for one audience, but emerges between worlds. It is up to us to nurture the power of that idea, the power to touch people across borders. In our hearts, we know that great ideas can fly, with music, with courage, and with patience. Let's make Connect a promise. To create music together that needs no translation, music that speaks from heart to heart. Let today be a beginning for new stories, for shared responsibility, and for a stage that doesn't just perform, but calls upon us all. The audience will thank us with loyalty. So allow me to close with a short poem, one I wrote while preparing this keynote speech. The poem is called Serpent or Dragon. Two paths the quiet soul may find, one narrow, dim, one clear, refined. The serpent winds through moss and stone, withdrawn, unseen, and all alone. It chooses gray, avoids the fight, evades the storm, but knows no light. The dragon through breaks free and wide, leaves lowlands fear and earthbound pride. With lifted wings and thunder's grace, it climbs the sky, it claims its place. It rides the wind, it grieves the sun, and dares to be what few become. And there you stand with open hand, between the grass and cloudless land. Then comes the voice from deep inside. Will you be serpent, still aware, yet bound to earth in cautious care? Or will you rise with wings of flame and dare the sky to speak your name? Thank you very much.